Having said the context of importance of empathy, I know you will ask me, tell us how we can actually help children to build empathy right from this age. I'm going to talk about one such tool which will really help them. Hi, this is Sushil Mundekar. In last 20 years of my career, working as a professional in corporate or working as an entrepreneur on my own startups, and then again coming back into the education system and working on nurturing entrepreneur mindset among children, I realized one thing, that our current education system needs a definite, immediate and a constructive change. This channel is mere an opportunity to connect a parent in me with a parent in you. Most of us would agree that whatever we learned during our education system, we rarely use that in our professional careers. On the other hand, whatever we do in our professional careers, we have rarely learned that in our education system in a formal way. So this gap needs to be bridged. There are so many tools that we use during our professions which we feel, oh fish, I would have learned this kind of tools when I was a child itself, it could have been far better. That was the eureka when I really thought that can we pick up some of those tools and bring it back to students so that they start preparing themselves, their mindset well in advance, so that this can help them to be successful in any career that they take. That's the genesis of this masterclass. Hello, welcome to the third episode of my masterclass on 12 essential tools we must teach our children before they finish their schooling. In the previous session, we spoke about journey mapping, and while talking about journey mapping, I told you in this session we are going to talk about one of the most critical skills of 21st century. And without keeping the suspense, let me reveal the skill, empathy. We are going to talk about empathy, and we are also going to talk about a tool that will really help our children to build empathy as a skill. So here we go. Again, this masterclass we are going to break into 4 sessions. We are going to set the context for empathy. Then we are going to talk about the tool which I am going to reveal. And then we are going to talk about how that tool is going to be used by children. And then in the last section, we'll talk about benefits of teaching children that tool so that they can actually be prepared for 21st century. We all agree that we want our children to create value for themselves. And the best way to create a value is to create value for others. More the value they create for others, more the value they'll be able to create for themselves also. And in the process of creating value for others, don't you think it's very important or essential to understand for whom we are creating the value? That's where empathy comes into picture. We always use empathy and sympathy as synonyms, but there is a great difference between the two. While sympathy helps you to feel what other people are feeling, empathy helps you to share and understand that feeling of people. And therefore, empathy somewhere is deep rooted compared to sympathy, and that is why we need to understand empathy as a skill, because that is something which will help you to connect with people. Now, I know you'll ask me a question that why I'm saying that empathy is one of the most critical skills. 6 reasons. Number 1, understanding people around you. We are all moving into global markets. So markets are completely different. If you are creating a value for others, you need to really understand how those consumers are going to behave, whether they are in your city, whether they are in your state, country, or whether they are across the globe. You need to really understand, and that understanding will only come if you can empathize with people even without going to those geographies. Number 2, diverse and inclusive workforce. The peers of your children as they work in any organization can come from different backgrounds, different geographies, different states, and therefore working with them as peers, as subordinates, as bosses, or as a consumer, as we said, is extremely important. That's where they need to also use empathy as a skill to understand all these people better. Number 3, rapid technological changes. As we are talking about chat GPT world and all, the human intervention is getting restricted more and more, and that's where if you can really understand users, you'll be able to fit to the technology and make technology more and more intelligent. Number 4, gig economy. We have seen during our COVID period, we all started working in silos. As you move towards professions and all, you will continue to work in silos, and therefore in this gig economy, it's extremely important to understand people around you. Number 5, improving emotional intelligence. Empathy helps you to understand yourself better, and also it helps you to relate to other people and create that kind of a bonding with people. And that brings me to the 6th point, managing relationships. Irrespective of the careers and the jobs that they would take, they have to manage all these relationships, and therefore in real life, empathy plays extremely important role. So in short, whether they work, lead, build, create or compete, they would need empathy as a skill. Having said the context of importance of empathy, I know you will ask me, tell us how we can actually help children to build empathy right from this age. I'm going to talk about one such tool which will really help them, and that's 5W1H. In short, it's about 5 questions we start with W: where, when, why, who and what. And one question we start with H, which is how. These 6 questions will really make them understand people far better. This process is known as 5W1H, and jokingly we say it's 5 wives and 1 husband. Just the reverse of Draupadi from Mahabharata. This tool will really help them to understand a complete periphery of people rather than working with their own perceptions. For example, they go to a village and they realize that there is no clean water for drinking. In order to solve this kind of a problem, in order to understand this situation and in order to relate to people, they need to understand why this is happening, how this is happening, where it is happening. Is it happening across the village or is it happening in particular locations? When it is happening during daytime or night, or is it happening during summer and winter and not in rains? How it is happening? All these questions, if they start asking before even coming to the judgment, they'll get wealth and wealth of information about the situation. Now that information will really help them to build inferences from the actual situation. Some of these things they'll be able to relate to people, and that is where empathy will play a very important role. And now the question is how children are going to use this. It sounds a bit difficult that how you can manage 6 questions, but if you look at diagrammatically, put the problem at the core and put all those questions in a circle just like a mind map around that, and let them start answering those questions. Today they are doing it on paper, but as they will grow and as they will use this tool 10, 20 times and all, this will start fitting into their mind. So moment they see a problem, they're immediately able to ask all these quadrants and try filling that information in their mind itself. And that is what is actually creating that kind of a map in their mind. In order to use this tool, we'll have to actually handhold them in 5 different areas. Number 1 is to put yourself in other people's shoes. Number 2 is understanding emotional drivers behind this. Number 3 is how are you going to communicate that back with people. What kind of language you should use, what kind of tones you should use. Extremely important while connecting with people. Number 4 is build multiple perspectives. Often what happens is we condition students, especially children, to build their own perspective. So moment they see a situation, they approach that situation with their own perspective. That's not the way you should deal with people. You have to understand perspective, or rather multiple perspective of people, why they are behaving so. And number 5, test and evaluate every time what you are doing making sense with people or not. So in these 5 ways, if they start using 5W1H over a period of time, this will become a trick for them. And why do I insist that we should teach our children this tool is because there are significant benefits. Number 1 is they will become comprehensive. Their information gathering will become so comprehensive that empathizing with people will become handy for them. Number 2, they will be consistent because they are getting lots of information. So every action that they can take, they can go back and check, and that will actually increase their consistency. Number 3 is clarity of thinking. They will have precise answers to situations which they are actually looking at people facing. Number 4 is efficiency. This will make them productive and efficient in everything that they do. And number 5, they will basically become better problem solvers to the world. In other words, this will help them to create value for others, naturally create value for themselves. So in this masterclass, we saw 4 important things. Number 1, we saw why empathy is one of the most essential skill of 21st century, because empathy helps you to share and understand exactly what other people are doing, facing and feeling. Number 2, 5W1H is a powerful tool to extract all the information before you start even looking at that as a problem or even identify that problem or build perspectives. Number 3, as a tool, it helps you to relate to people far better because you already have wealth of information about people, their drivers, their motives, their influencers, and that is what will make you to connect with people. And number 4, this will make them comprehensive, clear, consistent, efficient problem solver. If you like this tool, please write in comment section. Please like and please subscribe and spread the news to others so that they can get benefited out of it. In the next section, we are going to see similar kind of a tool which will really help them once they identify the problem, how to go to the root of the problem, and that will actually create them better problem solvers. Stay tuned.